So today, Miriam, you want to, I guess we want to talk about Cote d'Ivoire, and I guess the different
Absolutely.
perspectives about, because I mean, I was supposed to be over there by now, but obviously the virus changed the game plan.
Everything,
And
yeah.
so what my goal is, and what my whole goal has been, is to change the narrative about the continent of Africa. But the way that you do that is by helping people understand that Africa is not one big country, but it has many countries with many cultures and just a lot of beautiful places. And so I'm in the process of I'm writing a children's book series, but actually I think the adults are probably going to get more out of the children's books because of the illustrations and just the positive narrative that I'm sharing with the world about the continent. So when I do come to Cote d'Ivoire, that's going to be one of the books too. So that's how that's going to happen, because the way that Africa is portrayed in America is negative. Growing up in America my entire life, it took me until 2 years ago to actually come to the continent without an American mentality of, kind of like, oh, I'm coming to help. These poor people need me, and oh, they're just so destitute without my American whatever. And I got there, and it like hit me in the face to realize that no, they don't need me. As a matter of fact, I need them, because the way that I've been taught is wrong. And it was really a wake-up call, and I was quite embarrassed because of the way I was afraid to come to Africa. And the fact that I was afraid to come to Africa, I was ashamed of the fact that I was afraid to come to Africa, considering that I have so much African DNA running through my blood. And then I felt fooled, because the educational system here in America, the television, I mean, everything, the media, everything painted a negative narrative about everywhere in Africa. I mean, if it just said Africa, North Africa, South Africa, East Africa, West Africa, Central Africa, it was all one big bad place that you better not go to, because something's going to happen to you. And that was not my experience at all when I got there. And so now my mission is to be able to help people understand what really occurred, why the narrative has been painted so negatively, and what we can do about it. So I want to thank all of you for being a part of helping and being willing to share about Cote d'Ivoire, because that's what we're going to focus on. And I guess we could talk about some other places, but that's why we're here today. So Miriam, I mean, I guess I turn it over to you.
I thought it was a good idea for us to share this platform with the like of Rachel and Aliou, who happens to know Ivory Coast as much as I do, at least, but have a different perspective about the country, because they're not originally from here. And the positivity in the message is the fact that, yes, we're not one big country, but inside of us, we believe, when we think about Africa, we think that we're all the same. I don't know if I'm making sense. So
perfect sense. Yeah.
Aliou has this love for Africa. When he talks, he has, as you know, if you thought I was passionate about Africa, then you're gonna have another thing coming when you discuss with Aliou.
See, Ali, he's gonna be my man when I get there. It's like, man.
Sure.
Well, don't follow him everywhere. That's my piece of advice. Anyway. So,
Jay, don't worry, you'll be okay and you'll be safe.
I know. I
Don't worry.
I have not feared one minute. I have not had any fear in any place that I've been on the continent. So that's why I'm longing to get back. I'm like, I can't wait to get back.
What I want to share with you, Jay, and with the two beautiful ladies, Mariam and Rachel, is that you're doing something something that is actually what Africa must do from now till end of the days. We need to rebrand our continent. The way of rebranding it is to tell our own story, to tell it on the right way, because what you've been saying, the narrative about Africa, have been during centuries a very bad narrative, because it has been done in Occidental, Western world perspective. They don't have the codes, they don't have the meanings, they don't know the meanings, they don't have the culture to understand how Africa have been organized before. today, if you go to the Western countries, they will talk to you about democracy. But the real democracy, they will learn you at school that democracy is from Greece, where they used to say government for the people, by the people, and for the people, which is, but the first form of democracy have been seen in Africa before the independence. We was having big kingdoms, the kingdom of Mali, the kingdom of the Sorai Empire. We used to have the Zululand with the Shaka Zulu in the southern part of Africa. So Africa was having its own history. Africa was having its own way of doing things, because also Egypt is the home, the world home of humanity. So Africa have been existing before those people. Today, the narrative of the Western country tried to change it for X reason we didn't understand. So today, we need to rebrand our continent. How to do it? How to do it is to bring people like us to tell our friend brothers like you guys coming from the America or the other part of the world, what is Africa? Right. Africa is a continent. Africa is a place where the heart of the world is living. Africa is a continent where people have been struggling with economical issues, political issues, sociological issues, cultural issues, and whatever, but they're still keeping themselves alive, and they're keeping smiling. There is a Nigerian singer named Fela used to say, suffering and smiling. Even if Africa is suffering, they're still keeping the smile. Talking about Cote d'Ivoire, Cote d'Ivoire is maybe with Cameroon, Nigeria, and South Africa, one of the continents where you can make sure if you go there, you've gone to the whole Africa. What I'm meaning by saying that, I was born in Ivory Coast, as Mariam said, on my own experience, on my own perspective. I was born in a house where was having 9 citizenships living in the same area, in the same houses. We were living with a family from Mali, a family from Sierra Leone, a family from Ghana, a family from Guinea-Conakry, a family from Benin, a family from Togo, a family from Ivory Coast, and a family from Mauritania. It was a kind of a little Africa living in the same houses that period. And that's my love for Africa. I took it from there first during my childhood. And that's what helped me today to love this continent. Cote d'Ivoire was that because we used to call Abidjan, the capital of Ivory Coast, during the 60s, the New York of Africa. The country was very developed. There was having a president that used to call Félix Houphouët-Boigny, who was having a real vision, building nice building. The economics was working perfect because the country used to be very performant economically because they have gift from God by agriculture, by minerals and all those things. So all the rest people from Africa used to come to Ivory Coast to get a job, to have a better life, in fact. And that is how people went to Africa, and they mixed with the autochthone people from Ivory Coast. That's what gives you the beautiful people and the beautiful faces you can see anytime you go to Ivory Coast.
I mean, you sold it. I'm ready to get on the plane, man. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm trying to figure out how and when, obviously the virus, but the first place I'm coming is Cote d'Ivoire. So I thought I was going to probably go to another country. I'm gonna see how I can do my ticket, but you all have presented. Mariam, she had already done it. She laid the foundation, and now you come back, and I'm like, okay, so Rachel, I guess you're about to put the icing on the cake here. I mean, really,
definitely.
What's your experience with Ivory Coast?
So, just to thank everyone for coming together, Mariam for bringing us together, Aliou, yourself. It's a pleasure seeing all of you virtually and speaking about Cote d'Ivoire today. So, my name is Rachel Aron, and I'm Ugandan. My dad's Ugandan, my mom is Kenyan. And I've been lived in different parts. I want to share my Africa story and how it connects to Cote d'Ivoire. So I was actually born in Zambia, in Southern Africa. Then we lived in Kenya. Then we moved in the US. So I spent like elementary school in the US. Then we moved to Cote d'Ivoire. So I did like middle school, junior high, basically junior high, high school in Cote d'Ivoire. Then I moved back to the US for undergrad and grad. And then I moved out or whatever, moved back to Africa. And then I did a tour that saw me go to Kenya, Burundi, Tunisia, and now South Africa. So my love affair with Cote d'Ivoire started, and I give that background to understand all of us, as much as we're Africans, Aliou and Mariam, we've had that diversity wherever we were, whether we're in the continent or outside, we've had that exposure. And being an African is not only being an African, being born on African soil or from African soil, we also recognize a strong connection with our brothers and sisters in the US, African Americans, as well as Caribbean Americans, Latino Blacks and everything, because there are a number who are often not discussed, and other parts in the diaspora, in India and other places where you do find people of African heritage. I think it's important for us to look at the whole spectrum. So my love affair with Cote d'Ivoire started from living there. When I did like middle school, high school there, it's also where I learned to speak French. So, and the love affair continued even with the work I would do at the time. I work a lot on, let's say, private sector investments across Africa. So I had to go back to Cote d'Ivoire at a time where Cote d'Ivoire was rebuilding itself after the civil war, after that crisis. So I saw the resilience of a country, because it takes a lot to rebuild itself, and then to see the Cote d'Ivoire that we talk about today. So that's my history. Now, I think there are two things that are important to understand. There's both, Cote d'Ivoire offers a lot in terms of leisure tourism, but also business tourism. So obviously I'm speaking from Johannesburg, so I haven't had a chance to live in Cote d'Ivoire from the time I was younger, but I've been there a lot. So you could say it's probably like business tourism, if you want to put it that way, and leisure tourism. So I think it's important to know it has those two aspects. So we've talked a lot about the business tourism, because there's a lot that goes on, a lot of conferences, let's say, in terms of that are organized by different entities. So like, let's say if you want to do business in Africa, especially in West Africa or Francophone Africa, the place to hit is to go through Cote d'Ivoire and everything. It's a stable economy. It's a stable government. There's political stability as well as economic stability. And it's important because there's some people who are looking at new opportunities in Africa, the same way we've had, you know, the year of return in Ghana. Yes, it may have started as leisure tourism, but now you have the year of investment where, you know, tourism can also have, there might be an interest on the US side for those who have businesses or business interests who would like to come and invest in Cote d'Ivoire. Now, one good thing also about Cote d'Ivoire, you don't have to be an Ivorian to basically put up shop, or let's say, and everything. Of course, you need to have partners and other stuff, but the regulatory and legislative framework is incredibly investment friendly. And I think it's important to say that, to recognize the business tourism potential to it, as well as obviously the facilities, the infrastructure. This is the transport infrastructure, the energy infrastructure, the hospitality sector, you know? And I think it's you have to give it credit as a country. Cote d'Ivoire is in the top 10 emerging, and I say emerging economies because that's how it's classified technically, but of the top 10 emerging economies in Africa, Cote d'Ivoire has been there year in, year out for a number of years. And that speaks volumes for those who are looking at, let's say, maybe transforming business tourism or investment opportunities. Now, secondly, if you're looking at, let's say, leisure tourism, which a lot of us talk about, I'm sure a lot of the audience would also be interested in, Cote d'Ivoire is a very unique place. I mean, when you get out from the airport, and I've seen this, no matter what flight I'm coming from, if I'm coming through, you know, South Africa, we're all the way at the very southern tip. So sometimes I have to come through the Middle East, you know, and everything. Sometimes it's a direct flight through Ghana, or I have to come through Europe. Whichever way you come, whatever flight you get off of, Ivorians are extremely hospitable. The first thing you're going to hear them say is akwaba, meaning welcome, you know, and that's like, you know, a local greeting to welcome you, because they have that culture of hospitality. It's a country where all of us can all attest to, whether we're younger or older, you're welcomed here. You're not made, you don't feel like you're a stranger, oh, you're from this part of Africa, you don't fit in. Not at all. You can often see people who often look like you know, literally, you know, or something of the sort. So, you know, that level of hospitality starts from the minute you get off, let's say, the plane. And then I know your listeners might be wondering, but it's a French-speaking country. How will I communicate? I'm used to speaking English. That's how they understand me. But no, a lot of Ivorians, especially in the tourism and hospitality sectors, understand English. Some of them are fully bilingual, but a number also understand English because they've had visitors come from different parts of the world. They wouldn't have made it as an emerging economy if they hadn't. And they've had also people from the diaspora, such as ourselves, come there for different reasons, live there, have friends, a lot of stuff. And so also when it comes to leisure tourism, I want to maybe talk about other elements that appeal to me now and could appeal to others. The cultural dynamism of Côte d'Ivoire should not be taken for granted. You're talking about from east to west, north to south of the country. You have such a vibrant, like let's say cultural history that manifests itself in not only the different type of ethnic groups, and I say this because often ethnicity is used as something negative in Africa. No, behind ethnicity, there's a lot of history, there's a lot of culture, there's a lot of tradition. And it's everything that infiltrates us in the music and dance. So in every different corner, you know, let's say that exposure to what did my ancestors, before they crossed over the Atlantic, what could they have been doing traditionally in terms of their livelihoods? What were they planting? What were they cooking? What possibly were they dressing? You know, what are the customs that come into play when there's like a wedding ceremony? You know, what are some of the traditions you go to ask for a woman's, you know, you don't go direct and you don't go and propose, yes, I want to marry you. Yeah, you can do that. But, you know, like there's a whole family, there's a set of ceremonies you go through, and that shows your cultural vibrance. Now, on the modern side of things, we talked about this, whether it's Abidjan or Korogo or Bouaké or Sassandra, depending on which part you want to go to, you know, there's also other things, like let's say music. Everybody has all this hype about Afro beats and Nigerian music, and it's good. But Ivorian music is very dope too, and everything, but maybe people haven't heard it because they're not exposed to that word. So you have a lot of dynamic Ivorian musical artists and everything. The music is very dope. You hear it at different festivals and all. We also have a number of like fashion shows and everything. You can get like some tailors, like, okay, maybe today I'm not wearing it. This is something more South African, taking Ndebele art and putting it into like, they call it normally pine, which is like material or whatever, printed upon material. But let's say in terms of like, you know, everybody knows about Wakanda, but behind the story of Wakanda is a lot of traditions and let's say jewelry and like, let's say artifacts and prints that come from different parts. Everyone talks about kente cloth. Everyone uses it all the time, even the graduation ceremonies in the US, whether it's high school or college, the HSBCUs and everything. But also Côte d'Ivoire has its own version of kente cloth. That's different, you know, that's, you know, it's different. It's also woven, but it's different. So what I'm saying is that there's a whole cultural history behind Côte d'Ivoire, from the music to the fashion, to the jewelry, to let's say the experience, to the food. I know Mariam alluded to that about restaurants and beaches and everything last time, but just I think the goal between the three of us is really showcase Côte d'Ivoire has a lot to offer, you know, whether it's culture, whether it's leisure tourism you're coming for, business tourism, even ecotourism. There are a number of tropical rainforests in the country, you know, that to give you that ecotourism experience. So I just wanted to bring it to add on top of everyone said, we're giving different experiences, but they all matter because it's a country that definitely should be on your radar, but definitely should be discovered for all its different beauties.
Well, I appreciate your thorough breakdown of Côte d'Ivoire and all of the different opportunities, because as you were talking about it from the business perspective, the business tourism, but then also talking about it from the leisure tourism, and then from a cultural perspective and kind of highlighting the differences, because when you said Aquaba, I thought about, you know, Ghana, but the kente cloth, but there's a difference. And that's the thing, even though they're neighboring countries, Ivorian jollof rice is different than Ghanaian jollof rice. So, you know, these are things that just kind of, I discovered that in America, actually. But
Darren loves his jollof rice.
Say it again.
Jollof rice comes from Senegal. So Aliu is not going to like what you're saying.
Because jollof, I jumped into the jollof rice.
From Senegal.
And the best one's actually from Senegal. It's chicken.
Yes, because if you want jollof rice, jollof is a traditional name of Senegal in term of in a local language in Senegal we call Wolof. That's the most spoken language in Senegal. We use Wolof, and jollof used to be the traditional name of Senegal. So when they say jollof rice, it means the rice that's been cooked from Senegal, because that's where it's from, and particularly in a town which is 270 kilometers from the capital, Dakar, which is Saint-Louis. Saint-Louis, Ndar, the Senegalese name, used to be the capital of Senegal, and that's the hometown of the jollof rice.
Oh,
the jollof
really?
rice is typically from there, and usually we eat it with a fish because people are living alongside the sea from the north to the south in Senegal.
And so then the jollof rice then is spread all throughout West Africa at that point.
Exactly.
So started in Senegal, and then it just can you find jollof rice anywhere in West Africa? Can you find it
everywhere?
Everywhere.
You can find it anywhere in West Africa. And as you mentioned, when someone tells you jollof rice, it means Senegalese rice.
Yeah.
So that's why Nigerian and Ghanaian call it jollof rice, because that was the rice cooked by Senegalese.
Ah,
exactly.
Now see that?
It's a Senegalese dish. It's the main dish in Senegal.
Yeah, it's the main dish in Senegal.
So whatever version of jollof you've seen everywhere in Ghana, Nigeria, is just, those
Liberia.
are fake. The real one is from Senegal.
In Senegal,
the best one is Senegal.
All right, I'm gonna have to go to Senegal now and see.
Definitely, you have to come to Senegal.
I'll brush up on my French in Cote d'Ivoire, and then I'll be ready for Senegal. There we go.
There you are.
There we go.
So that is an interesting fact, because I see the battles. They even have the battles here in America with the jollof rice. Obviously Nigeria and Ghana, but Liberia has this thing too. And I think what happened with Liberia is that they took the jollof rice to America, then they picked up something over here, and then they took it back. So it has you see some other stuff going on with the Liberian jollof rice, but then the Ivorian jollof rice, there's something different there, but now I'm going to have to go to Senegal and get.
But no, normally the main food from Ivory Coast is acheke. Is coming from cassava.
Fish and cassava,
Is a kind of is cooked from a cassava, and they call it acheke. That's the main food in Ivory Coast. You can eat it with chicken or with fish or with meat, and it's very, very, very popular. But also, Ivory Coast took it from Ivory Coast to spread it in the whole of West Africa as well. So you can have acheke in Mali, in Senegal, in Niger Republic, wherever you go, in Gambia or in Sierra Leone or even in Liberia. Wherever you go in West Africa, you find the basic food from rice with the jollof rice, from cassava with the acheke, and then from plantain. They used to call aloko as well. That's the main food. And if you look at historically, the US, during the slavery time, that was also the main food from the people. That's why if you go to the southern part of America, they do eat a lot of rice and a lot of plantain. And a lot of plantain and a lot of yam and a lot of cassava.
Oh yeah, you go down south, you get the rice every day. I was born in Charleston, so and so I grew up on rice. I mean, it was like what happened when I went to Ghana.
Yeah,
and I tasted their version of the jollof rice. Now that I know that it's an imposter, no, I'm just it's not the real deal. But I tasted it, and I said, "Wow!" I said, "This really tastes familiar." And so in Charleston, in the Low Country of South Carolina and Georgia, they have something called red rice.
Yes,
and
that's the red rice.
And I said, "Wait a minute!" I said, "This tastes like red rice," and I could not shake it. And every time I go to anywhere, I mean, obviously I didn't get any jollof rice in Tanzania or Ethiopia, but when I was in West Africa, it seemed like it was everywhere. Yeah. And you had different versions of it. Some really spicy, some not so spicy, some really good, some so. It's kind of like with anything. So now, go ahead.
The spicy one is usually from Ghana and Nigeria. Those ones are very, very spicy. But if you came like in Senegal or in Ivory Coast or in Mali, then you have it less spicy. And if you go to the northern area around Mauritania or Niger Republic, there will be no spice, no spicy at all. It's dependent from the area you're having it. And what can explain it as well is because in Ivory Coast, which is an forest region, you have more rain that help the agriculture to be stronger than the Sahelian area where Senegal is located, and Mali and Mauritania and Burkina Faso or Niger. It's dependent on, because in West Africa, you have two regions, the Saharan region, most of where the Muslim countries as well, and the forest region where those are closer to Central Africa and almost have almost the same climate, where there is a rainy region where it's almost raining all the year, compared to Senegal or Mali, or where you just have 3 months rain, 3 raining months per year.
What would you say to people like me in America? Because my mission is to bridge the gap, and we have been so misinformed, we have been so misled, we have been so miseducated. I mean, it's really, honestly, it's really sad. Now, for those who know better, they know better. But for those who don't, it's almost like you say the word Africa. I don't want anything to do with it. I don't care. I'm going to take my money to all these European countries. I'm going to take my money, you know, don't even talk to me about Africa. They'll get upset because, you know, a very popular or unpopular politician here in America spoke so negatively about certain countries in West Africa. I think I'm saying that the right way. so, but yet they will feel the same way internally. So they won't say it the same way, but they'll say, well, no, I don't want to go to those countries because everybody's poor, everybody's sick, it's third world. I mean, I'm telling you, some of the things that some of these narratives in America is just so unfortunate, and I believe it's to our detriment because we all are so similar. It's almost like we're looking down on ourselves. That's what I walked out, because I'm like, these people are just like me. What am I talking about? What's going on? So what words of advice would you say for us who have been so misinformed for so long? Anyone can jump in on that one.
I'm going to jump on something Aliou said earlier about the fact that we need to write our own history. Because it's not only about America. You've been misinformed, yes, but it's, the same thing happened to the kids in here. Up until now, when children go to school in Africa, because whatever book they read from, they learn from, was edited by Europeans, especially the French, they've been told that they were just like living on trees. They come from bushes, and white people came to help them to face whatever is done in Europe. And this is something we kind of, the like of us, Rachel, myself, Aliou, on a daily basis, we're fighting to change the narrative and to change the way we perceive ourselves. When we see people from America, you guys are lucky enough to have this big community working on changing the perspective and having, for instance, having a black Barbie doll might seem to be something of no importance, but it is. Because as a young girl, I would have loved for someone to tell me that my curly hair looks nice. I would have loved to hear songs like Brown Skin Girl from Beyonce. But I used to listen to music and watch TV and see all those blonde girls, and I used to dye my hair in blonde, shame on me, because I thought it was the right way. And right now, for instance, we're working all together. We have an association that we're all part of, that our goal and our perspective is to talk about Africa in a different way and help the young Africans see good role models, good examples of success, not think that, okay, for me to succeed or for me to become rich, I have to get into some get rich scam or whatever. I have to do fraud. I have to be a soccer player. I have to be a singer. You can actually be educated. You can actually have an impact on your community and still get rich. Or you don't have to be rich to be happy. But if you know where you're from, and if you live on having an impact on where you're from, at the end of your life, you're gonna realize that you were here. You've done something. So it's not about America. I think it's something global. The world wants us to see ourselves as less favored people, to see ourselves as not less privileged. How may I put it? I need some help down there. Like inferior to other people,
right?
Which is not the case, because in terms of everything, coronavirus is showing the world that us Black people, we are much stronger than the rest of the world. We've been able to survive, even though there is a lockdown going on, all the borders are closed. But listen, guess what? We're happy. We're eating healthy food, fresh fruits, vegetables on a daily basis. We've got everything we need in here. And we're
still smiling.
Exactly. And we're able to heal ourselves with our own herbs. We don't need any industry science from abroad. We've created so many things that it's like things have been hidden from us. Now we've got the opportunity to talk to each other. Like, this is something that we could not even think about. We were too busy years ago struggling to find ourselves, to think about who we were. We didn't even know that people from America were our brothers and sisters. I remember growing up in France, the people from West Indies, from the French Caribbean islands, used to look at us and tell us that we sold them out to the white people, so we're not brothers and sisters. But now we understand better. We have a better understanding of our history. We know how close we are, even though we're far from distance. Thank God, thank internet. I believe that it's
that little piece right there.
You realize that it won't cost you for yourself what's going on here, and know where you're from, know the reason why they're working, and they want at any cost to stop you from discovering where you were taken from or your ancestors were taken from. Barack Obama is from Kenya. If Kenya was a slum or whatever, he wouldn't have been able, his parents, his mother wouldn't have met his dad. And he came here before becoming a president. He went to Kenya, he went to his village, to his people, and he was still able to, he survived Africa, went back to America and got elected. So what is so wrong about Africa? Why would the biggest people, all the big names in the world are investing in Africa? Like I said the other day, they've got big companies that they're starting, especially in the Ivory Coast, because Ivory Coast, Kenya, Nigeria, and South Africa will be the place where they normally put their headquarters. Why would they want to invest in Africa? Why would they want to come so hard and live in here and invest in here if Africa is so bad? I strongly believe that it's about time we emancipate ourselves from whatever we've been told, and we try
from mental slavery, as Bob Marley said.
Exactly. Yes. We need to discover who we are, all of us. We all need to discover who we are, go deeper, search. You've got Google, you've got the like of your website, Jay. I saw what you wrote about Ivory Coast. That's amazing. I've learned things from your website, even though I live here.
Oh, wow.
I did. Congratulations.
Well, that's all right. This poor American soul over here has been able to. No.
Can I add something?
Yes, you are. You're doing great.
That's all right.
Can I add something?
Of course.
Yes, of course, darling.
Sure. I think also, because I've lived in both worlds, so I've seen both of them. You know, mental and cultural oppression is the strongest tool you can use to keep any people down. And it's worked effectively for Black people, both on the US side and on the African continent, and obviously also in the diaspora. One way to understand is, rather than looking for differences, because sometimes we look at what's different, you know, what makes you different than me, what makes something wrong. First of all, whether it's the ghettos or the projects in the US or the slums and the shanty towns in Africa, it's the same thing. It's poverty. Poverty, you're both exposed to poverty, just in different ways. You lack access to basic services. You lack access to quality education on both sides. You're discriminated against on the basis of your color in both countries, in both continents. However, racism is a tool that's used in the US. Tribalism is a tool that's used in Africa, you know? And when you understand the power of cultural oppression, your oppressors are gonna oppress you when you accept, you take their place and you start doing what they don't do anymore, when it comes out of your mouth, you know? So I think the first thing has to do, we always talk about Black love, self-love. Back in the 60s, the civil rights movements and the independence movements on both sides in Africa and the US joined hands. They understood what the fight, what was the struggle. When you have solidarity as Black people and everything, it makes you stronger. And so long as you allow yourself to be divided, even within yourselves, because you don't know your history, you don't want to know your history, when also you rise about certain classes, because that's also another issue too. When you get out of the ghetto, or you get out of the hood, or you get out of the slums or the shanty towns, you forget them. That's not my business. I fought. So you can't forget your people. You have to be unified to understand, yes, people are going to be marginalized. And if you get on the corporate ladder, you're still discriminated against, you know, in the US. So when you understand the levels of cultural oppression and how it translates into other aspects of society, education, health, etc. In the US right now, we know, unlike Africa, African Americans, Black and brown people, because I think it's important to include people of Hispanic origin and everything as well when we talk about this. But African Americans especially have been devastated, hard hit by the coronavirus and everything as compared to the African experience. And it has to be, it's basically directly linked to their place in society and the privileges they've been denied and how they've been marginalized for a long time, where of course you're going to end up in certain types of jobs. So I say this, there are a lot more similarities than people know. Just that poverty maybe in a developed country like the US might look different from poverty in a developing country in Africa, simply because of infrastructure. But if you take that stuff down or whatever, if you don't have enough money to send your kids to a private school, if you don't have enough money to pay the copay for, let's say, your health insurance in the US, which is the same thing as to pay to see a doctor here. A lot of people don't have the money, they're too poor to pay that initial fee to see a doctor, to get, let's say, health services. So a lot of the issues are similar. So I agree with what Mariam and Aliou are saying. We talked about this in different ways. The platform we're part of in French is called Avançons Ensemble, which is moving forward together, is what it translates. And what it means is, yes, they're all of us coming together. We have to adopt that mentality. We should not be the mentality that breaks each other down, looks down upon each other. Yeah, Africans are poor, Africans are this, Africans are that, because that's the image they want you to see in the West. Because if they showed you an image constantly of Africans succeeding, then you would think, oh gosh, what I'm going through is not right. Actually, those should be my role models. There are more people, I can aspire to that. You don't have to be rich to make it, but you don't also have to believe poverty is, let's say, what determines your whole life. So I think we're all saying the same thing. We have to come and connect. We have to learn. We have to create bridges in which we exchange and talk and speak candidly, and also see where we have brothers and sisters, African Americans living in Africa, and they're all good. They're not going back anytime soon.
No, they're not.
And then there are also Africans living in what you call it, in the US. They're not coming back home anytime soon, which is fine or whatever, but you make the most of those. And a lot of us travel all over. Maybe we can set up forums and different things. We can even do online, crack the education sector and everything. You know, there are a lot of, like, let's say, learning opportunities through webinars we're seeing, setting up curricular apps and everything, your children's book series. Let's drive that process of knowledge and make it available and change things. Wakanda already hit hard 2 years ago. Run that momentum and change the narrative. And we can do it collectively. And it's not about, I'm from here. We're Black people, period. We all suffered. Those who stayed on the continent, those who were taken off the continent, we all suffered. And we need to come together because we have strength in numbers. And in Africa, and especially Cote d'Ivoire, there are countries that have the resources or whatever, where people can come together despite culture, despite religion. So that would be my message to basically what Mariam and Alif said. We have got to come together. We have to change a narrative. We have to tell our story. And where there are gaps, Africa has a rich oral history. We have the storytellers of what's called the griot, like the traditional storytellers, who tell us about, let's say, when he spoke about the kingdom of Mali. The kingdom of Mali was mega. It was the empire of Mali, actually, you know, and everything. The empire of Mali influenced so many things, you know, and so many pieces of knowledge that have changed, let's say, architecture, archaeology, mathematics, came out of that kingdom.
Even, Rachel, excuse me to interrupt you. They used to say the King Abubakar II, which is the one who discovered first the America before Christopher Columbus. That's the reality. The person who discovered America first was the King Abubakar, coming from the kingdom of Mali. And so to tell you that if we tell our own story, if we have our own narrative, we can change the gap, we can bring back the truth, and how to do it. And maybe that is where I will finish it before I go, because I have an appointment and a meeting starting in 2 minutes, is to build a bridge between Africa and the diaspora. I mean, all the African people with the African roots all over there in the world, from Cuba, from US, from the Latino America, from the Caribbean area. We need to build bridge together to exchange experiences, you know, and to change the perception of Black people or African people around the world. We are very good in everything today, in technology, in communication, in arts, in culture, in cooking. We are good in fashion. We are good in everything, in sports. So we have to bring back together all our experiences, all our knowledge, and to give back the African people their dignity and the position, the real position in the world.
All right, Ali, now when I come over there, you're my guy. So just know that.
So for sure, Jay.
All right, so that's
really
the deal.
Nice speaking to all of you guys.
Thank you so much. I know you got to run.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Ali.
I'll see you in Ivory Coast, in Cote d'Ivoire.
Thanks.
Take care.
For sure. Inshallah. Thanks.
Thanks.
So ladies, I also want to thank you for, just shedding so much insight. Everything has been articulated perfectly, because again, like I said, and Mariam, the way that you explained it also, I get it, because the narrative has been shared incorrectly on both sides of the Atlantic, both sides of the Indian, Pacific, wherever you want to go. However we've been trained and taught, there's something that has been that's missing. And Rachel, when you just broke it down on every level about how it impacts us, when you talked about the virus and how it's affecting the African-American community disproportionately. And that has so much to do with socioeconomics. It has a lot to do with cultural misinformation. It's so many layers to that. And it caught my attention. And I was like, wait a minute, why are we dying from this? I know people who've passed away from it. I know at least 9 people who had it. I know people who were on the ventilator from it. So and this is not like, because they talk about, well, it's like 1% of the population. I'm saying, well, I know 9 people, and these people close. And then when the gentleman passed away, I was like, wait a minute, this is a little bit closer to home than what the news would want you to think. Oh, well, no, they would want you to think. I actually probably want a little bit more, but it's really hitting home. And so when we start talking about educating and helping people see the truth of the matter and telling our own stories, that's what I'm committed to. And so whatever means, however I have to do it, if I have to write children's books, which I've really enjoyed, I'm really enjoying that. Now it's like giving me a whole new energy, because I know when I come to Cote d'Ivoire, there's going to be a children's book about Cote d'Ivoire and my experience there and everything that I learned, and so that's what we do, these types of conversations. And then just as we're doing this, having these different forums and traveling and seeing for ourselves, it makes all of the difference. So I want to thank you both for your time and your insight. And as you all are doing anything, let me know, because I know right now we're on lockdown, and I see, Rachel, you travel all, you have Uganda, you have Kenya, you have South Africa. And I think you said you were born in Zambia, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so when are you going to be back in Cote d'Ivoire?
I guess when the lockdown, because we have a strict, when the borders open, most of the borders in Africa are currently closed, actually, if not all, but majority are. So probably later in the year. Yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right.
But also, Mariam also comes down. Mariam travels a lot. Mariam and I actually met in South Africa.
Oh, really? Okay. You know, I have some friends in Joburg. I have to get to South Africa. So I know some people there, and they were like, Jay, when are you coming to South? I said, well, I have some West African things I need to do first. I need to make sure
your DNA is calling you.
Yeah.
Let me
do
DNA.
That. Right. Now I have some Kenyan though. I have some strong Kenyan DNA too. So that's
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's your cousin right there.
Yeah, I have some strong.
My mom has it. Hustler DNA, that's where it comes from.
That must be, is that what it is? Because it's strong. No. It's like had all this West Africa, and then out of nowhere, just Kenya popped up. And I was like, now how did that happen? You know, I mean, like a nice percentage popped up on all of them. So I said, okay, well, we know Kenya is in there. So I'm going to do a little bit more research to see, you know, more specifically what tribe in that region. So yeah.
Nice. No, it's been a pleasure, Jay. I think this conversation is important because you only learn first by speaking, and you speak the truth that you know, the truth you've experienced, but also the truth that you've learned from others. And I think none of us will be whole without sharing that, yes, we're Africans. We have African blood running through us. We have an African experience. And one of the ideal places in Francophone West Africa is Cote d'Ivoire, because it allows you to bring that out, you know, in so many ways, and you'll see that itself. And I know we've talked about different things, but you know why I bring it back to Cote d'Ivoire is that you'll see for yourself. It's an environment that naturally cultivates a lot of diversity in so many ways. So you'll find also they had a policy from the founding father, Félix Houphouët-Boigny, who was the first president. He opened Cote d'Ivoire to neighbors and others. You know, he didn't close the borders. He had, you know, you had people who were able to intermarry and everything. It wasn't an issue in that sense. So when a country is built like Cote d'Ivoire from the beginning on a rich diversity and continues on that path X number of years after independence, it becomes part of its social fabric. So I think you and your listeners will find Cote d'Ivoire quite interesting. And in that sense, and obviously there are people who've been elsewhere and everything, but I thought that, you know, that would be an ideal place for you to start. And maybe your children's books could lead to other things, you know, as well, or for between all of us, who knows? But the children's book might open another door to other things of interest that maybe you didn't realize until you stepped foot there.
I agree. And one interesting part about the children's books, when I just kind of put it out there and say, hey, I'm about to release it. Here it's coming. And the response, I did not expect the response to be, it shocked me. I was kind of like, wow, it's like that, you know, and I didn't give them too much. I just took a couple of illustrations, and you saw the narrative of a family going on this trip. And so so there's so many little messages in there that I'm communicating, that you have this family going on this trip internationally, this African-American family that's willing to go to Africa. And the book really, it talks about the narrative in age appropriate ways, because one of the first couple of pages, the little boy, he says, well, everything I saw on TV was bad and it was sad. And so the parents came in and said, well, no, let's go see. And so when they got there, they were like, wow, there's swimming pools here. And I don't want to give too much away, but it's like you just saw them light up, and they even had some jollof rice. So I had to give them some jollof rice. I didn't say it was Ghanaian though. I didn't say that. So nice. Yeah, so that's the cool part about all of this. So ladies, again, I want to thank you for your time and your willingness to share. And I look forward to more conversations like this. I look forward to visiting Cote d'Ivoire. And Mariam, you know, like I said, I'm giving you, and we're going to make sure all of that is coordinated and have the opportunity to see the beauty.
It will be. In fact, I think somehow they're keeping all those borders locked because they don't want you to get in here, because they know something new is going to start. From that, That moment. And we've been waiting for those borders to open because we've got so many things planned.
Yes.
With our association and everything. Right now, we've got people from all over Africa, from Morocco to all the way to South Africa with Rachel. And we've got so many things that we're willing to do together. And you're more than welcome to come, you and your people, to join us, join the conversation, join all the action we're taking to change the narrative and change things.
Well, I'm ready. So as soon as those borders open up, I'm ready. So I can't wait. Ladies, once again, thank you for your time and thank you for all of your insight, and look forward to talking to you in the near future.
You're most welcome. Thank you. Thanks. Bye.
Bye now.